Live from the downtown Carmine studio, it's the Saturday Morning Sports Show. Live on 97.3 WRUL, 93.3 WROY, and online worldwide at WRUL.com.
Good morning, sports fans, and welcome to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY. The sports show is brought to you by Little Giant Grocery Outlet, Rice Motor Company, Hale Body Shop, First Mid Bank and Trust, Wabash Christian Therapy, Bush & Associates CPA, People's National Bank, Hamilton Memorial Hospital District, Rush Appliance and Furniture, Citizens National Bank of Albion, Nancy J. Winters CPA, Cherry Street Automotive, Farrell Hospital, Taylor Eye Care, O'Rourke Transport, Wabash General Hospital, and Invenergy, Boomtown Solar. Cole Carter and Travis Black, as Travis is taking Chris Myers' spot here for the basketball season. Travis, happy to have you along for the ride.
Good to be here, Cole. Hope it's going to be an enjoyable one.
Me and Travis had our first basketball broadcast back on Thursday when the Lady Bulldogs traveled to Mount Carmel. We'll get to that later on in the show, but starting out, we got our guest for the day, a common guest here on the show, the Carmel County Boys head basketball coach, Kevin Wolff. Thanks for coming this morning, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
So, Kevin, you guys start the season on Tuesday. You'll host Gallatin County at home for the first game of the season. First and foremost, you had about 2 weeks of practice now. How are things looking?
Things are looking pretty good. We were talking just a minute ago. Today we're kind of going to do a mock game at practice this morning, going to do situational stuff. Going to play a quarter, kind of see where we're at. They're going to just, like I said, put different times on the clock, different scores on the clock to kind of get us ready for the first game. But so far so good. Had a lot of good, hard, intense practices. We're at the point now where we're ready to go play. Kind of. Just we went through basically everything we think we need to before a game. Still 2 days left, but we're ready to tip it up, see where we're at.
Last year was just such a strange year for you. I remember talking to you about it last year, that you started off hot. You had Bryce Connor, who was averaging about 25 points per game there in the Duke-Horn tournament. And then first game of the EHT, we all know what happens. He gets hurt, and the season takes just an odd turn. And I can imagine as a coach it was a strange year for you, but it was almost a blessing in disguise because you lose your junior star player in Bryce Connor, but you had a couple of younger guys emerge. Kind of talk about last season, just how it was strange, but almost a good thing for you guys.
It was so strange. Like whenever the injury happened, you don't really. We talk all the time in the coach's office like a broken arm in basketball. It was just or elbow, like a fluke injury that we had. And he was playing so good. He was the Duke-Horn tournament MVP. We were playing some good, solid basketball. Had lost to some good teams, but we were playing very competitively. And then it just flipped upside down. And but like you said, I think moving forward, we went a kind of a young route. We played the two young kids a bunch, and Mitchell Edwards and Gavin Holloman, the two freshmen last year, and they got a ton better, I think, and they just got more comfortable as the year went on. And Mitchell was the CIT all-tournament team. Gavin had some really nice games, and then it transferred over into this summer, and those two did not look like sophomores this summer. They just looked like returning varsity basketball players, which was good. But you take Bryce away, but we tried to make it as positive as we could, and the end of the last season was tough. We lost our last 12 games. Two of them were in overtime. We just couldn't find a way to win games late in the year. But I think hopefully now getting Bryce back, all the experience that we have, or the young guys got moving forward, hopefully it bodes well for this year. But like I told somebody last night, I said, I'm excited. This is as much talent as I feel like I've had as a coach, and I've been blessed to have some really good teams in my 8th year here. But I'm not real sure how excited I can get, because after what happened, you're literally one play away from your season just completely changed, and that's what happened last year. We're hoping and praying it doesn't happen again this year, but we're excited. The young guys have gotten better, and like I said, we're just ready to go Tuesday night.
With a lot of returning varsity experience, especially for those young guys, how big do you think it is for, especially with Bryce coming back and Gomer getting continuity in there, with a lot of them not having as much time on the court with Bryce as much, and he's a big integral part of your offense and what you want to do as a team. And how do you think they're going to gel together to start the season?
I think we'll be pretty good. That's why this summer I wanted to play more games than we ever had. We played, I think, 21 games this summer. Normally we play about 12 to 15, but it was important because we did have Bryce back this summer. And like you said, those guys didn't get a chance to play with him much. So, summer is what it is. We had some guys gone in some tournaments. The teams we played had some guys gone, but it was good for our younger guys to play with Bryce and Gomer, get Landon back in the mix. He was kind of in and out of the varsity lineup last year. So those five, and along with Connor and Mason and some of our younger kids, kids, gelled really well this summer. We played some really good basketball. We played our best at the end of the summer, and I hope that it continues into this winter.
Just want to run through your roster real quick. Gavin Holloman, Tanner Spence, Mason Haywood, Mitchell Edwards, Connor Newell, Bryce Connor, Tyler Gomat, Landon Driscoll, Cade Stockton, Trey Dixon, Jade Albright, Braden Smith, Tyson Spicer, and Gavin Payton. And looking at the roster, Kevin, it seems like this could be one of those years. I know in years past you've gone 6 guys deep, 7 guys deep, but do you think this could be a year where we see 9 or 10 guys play each night?
We'll see. My brother always, kind of gives me a little bit of grief because, what I see on the floor a lot of times is what I'm going to go with and what I see in practice and what I see in the JV games. I haven't been a coach that's played 8, 9, 10 guys. That's not what I've done. Could be a bad thing. I don't know. Could be a good thing. We've had some teams, like Travis's senior year, where I think we played 6 guys, played the 5 seniors and played Mahan off the bench and won 19 games. We'll just have to see how it goes. I would like to play more because I would like to have guys a little bit fresher when it comes fourth quarter time, but also they've got to prove it in practice and they've got to prove it in the JV games that they are ready to play varsity basketball. So we'll just play it by ear. We'll see. Right now I think we could go 7 or 8 deep, or I think we could go 6 deep. Right? So we'll just see how it goes. That's what's fun, about the practices and about the games is because you get to, show your talents, put them on the floor and put them out in there in practice, and we'll just see how it goes.
Okay, so you guys got a lot of length and athleticism, a lot of height, especially in that starting lineup. And I know Carmine's always been man-to-man defense. Coach Anderton really preached that. And it's been a mainstay here. With all that length and athleticism, you think you're ever going to run a zone just to make up for the lack of size in terms of physical strength? Not saying that those guys aren't physically strong; they're just not big and bulky like some post players you'll see.
Well, Travis wasn't his plan.
Yeah. I mean, without question. I mean, we're in our conference. You look at the Hampson kid from Hamilton County at 6'7", 250 or 60 pounds. I'm sure the Bradley kid down in El Dorado, they're way bigger than anybody that we have. So without a doubt, we're going to play some zone this summer. We did a lot of 1-3-1, trapped out of it a little bit. And we've played some 1-3-1 in the past. Back with Fulkerson and Peyton Edwards and that group, we played some. Even my first couple years, we played like a 3-2 zone with Tucker and those guys. But we will play some 1-3-1. That is what we had some success this summer. And then as the season goes on, as teams kind of prepare and get better against that, we may even switch it up a little bit more. But right now, I would say going into this week, we're a 1-3-1 team and we're a man-to-man, probably 70% of the time, I would say, and maybe some zone 30% of the time. But this summer, at our last game at Vandalia, we were playing Freeburg. We couldn't guard them in man. We went to 1-3-1 and played them the rest of the game and was really successful in it. So we'll just have to, see how the game is going to see how long we'll be in one thing or in the other.
You mentioned playing some tough teams in the summer like Freeburg and also Vandalia and Massac, a couple of those teams that you saw this summer. Next week or the week after Thanksgiving, you're going to be going to DuQuoin for the annual DuQuoin tip-off. We're going to see some good teams there. So how important is it to see those tough teams early on in the year, your first few games of the season, and then this year you're going to see Heron up there, DuQuoin, of course, West Frankfort also, and Cairo. How important is it to get those first 4 games when you're playing some pretty tough, bigger schools to get ready for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it is good. We love going over to that DuQuoin tournament. You just see teams that you don't normally see in the regular season. Like you said, Heron, DuQuoin, they're going to be very athletic. Maxac has been there in the years past. And going back to kind of what you said about the summertime, every coach takes the summertime a little bit different. Some people almost have their whole offense in. Other coaches just roll the ball out and play. But the good thing about seeing the teams that we did is you see their athleticism, you see their size, you see their strength, like with Freeburg and Mount Carmel and Massac County. So even though that those coaches may not have their full game plans in, and we don't have our full game plan in, you're going up against kids that are a little bit bigger, stronger, and faster than you, and you got to find a way to get things done against them. So I think it was important for us to do that leading into going over to DuQuoin and seeing the athleticism that DuQuoin has. They always play 8 or 9 guys, and they may not be the best skilled basketball players, but they are very, very athletic and strong. And then Heron year in and year out is really good. They're going to be really long. They're going to have some really good basketball players. So it'll be tough for us, but it's also a great way to start the season to get our feet wet as we move throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, you guys, again, this is the flip side of the defensive argument. You guys really long, athletic, a lot of guys with a lot of guard skills. So how much 5 out you guys planning on running since you don't have a de facto post player kind of eating space? and how much you want to keep that lane open to get those drives from guys like Bryce, guys like Gavin, guys like Gomat?
That's a great question. Right now we have in kind of 2 5-out continuity offenses. We have a cutters, and then we got one that's kind of a side ball screen thing that keeps the lane open. But I'll tell you what, Bryce has really worked on his game, and he's really gotten heavy into the weight room, and we are still going to get him down in the post because, like I tell him all the time, everybody wants to be out, shoot the three, handle the basketball, but boy, whenever you're around the bucket, that goal is a lot closer, and those layups are 2 points is worth 2 points, whether it's from the block or whether it's from the top of the key just inside the three-point line. So we're going to get him down in there some. We're going to get Mitchell and Gomer down in there some as well if we get some mismatches. But yes, primarily we'll be a 5-out team, running our cutters, running our what we call Tampa, and then running our sets that we have. So the lane will be open for guys to get to the bucket, but when we need something or we find a mismatch, we're going to get guys down in the block and hopefully get some easy buckets.
We've talked about Bryce, but one of your other seniors, Tyler Gomat, I thought he stepped up tremendously last year when Bryce went down. He averaged 11.6 points per game last season. Gomer can score. And I told you last week, you got about 4 guys that can score any given night, but I really just thought Tyler last year, when Bryce went down, stepped up tremendously as a junior and kind of helped lead that team.
He sure did. He was an all-conference player last year. He does so many things that don't show up in the newspaper or in the clippings. I call him like a junkyard dog. I mean, he'll get an offensive rebound here. He's so good with his hands. He gets so many tips, and that's why he's going to be in the middle of our zone in our 1-3-1, and he is just so active in there, and he just disrupts so many things. And like you said, a lot of coaches know that he can really only go left, but it's still hard to stop him going left. He can still get to the bucket. Had 11.5 points a game, had a high-point game, I think, of 30 in one of the games last year. So, yeah, we do have a bunch of guys that can score, and I haven't really talked to the team about it much. I'm kind of ready to see how it goes in the games, but, a couple nights it may be Bryce going for 18, 20, 21, and then all of a sudden it could be Gavin Holloman getting 16. Our guys are just going to have to learn this year that the most important thing we're trying to do is win, and we need to go to the hot hand when somebody has a hot hand. Don't try to force it. The game will come to guys when it needs to come to them, and I think our guys know that. Like I said, I haven't talked any about that yet. We'll see how the season starts playing out, but we do. We got 5 or 6 really, I think, guys that can score the ball and have scored in their careers, so we'll have to see how it plays out. Would love for them all to get it going night in and night out, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, going back to Gomer, he's junkyard dog. He's really the glue that holds everything together for us.
Your third senior, Tanner Spence, playing basketball for the first time in high school.
Since 8th grade, yeah.
I mean, he's a great athlete. We just saw him go to state and cross country. What can he bring to the table this season?
Man, I'll tell you what, so far it's been his energy and just his enjoyment to be at practice. He's always, every drill we do, he's going as hard as he can. He's always got a smile on his face. He can really shoot the basketball. The game right now is just a little fast for him, as you can imagine. He hasn't played since 8th grade. Looking at him every day, I tell Coach Stubblefield, I'm like, man, I wish he would have played the last 3 years, because some guys just develop at different times, and I really do believe that if he would have played over these last few years, he would be a real big part of our team. And that hadn't happened, but right now, as the year goes on, who knows? If he keeps getting better and better and better, we could see him have some significant minutes. But right now, he's been a great guy on the white, which is the guys who play a lot of defense and scout team offense. So far, so good. He's been doing really well. It's been great for him to be around the guys. The guys all love him, so it's been good for us.
Travis was saying yesterday that his Tanner's Bradshaw.
I'm telling you, if he translates that on the basketball court, nobody's stopping that corner 3. Nobody's stopping that corner 3. I know we've been talking. We can go on extensively about Bryce. We can go on extensively about Gomat. Go extensively about Edwards. Go extensively about Holloman. But that 5th spot was really last year was the one that always was in kind of rotation. Driscoll had times where he was the 5th guy. You had times where it was Trey Dixon. How important is that 5th guy to gel in with those 4 guys that for a fact are going to be playing significant minutes? How important is that 5th guy to make sure the team is cohesive as it can be?
It's very important. And, going to Landon, Landon was a starter for us as a sophomore last year to start the season, and that was with the 2 seniors we had and Bryce. And it was kind of up and down for him. And then he rolled his ankle there, and he was out some. Trey rolled his ankle at the first JV game of the year last year, but Landon was really that guy that could bring some scoring, could handle the ball, had some length. And then he got hurt. I think one of the best things that we did, and he was great with it, was at the end of last year, he wanted to go down and play JV. We sent him down the last 4 or 5 games to play with Trey and play with those other sophomores, and he really, I think, got his confidence back. I think the last 2 games he had over 20 points. We beat a good Fairfield JV team to end the year, but then this summer Landon really carried it over into what we did this summer, and he was one of our better players all summer. And he's a young junior. He's starting to fill into his body a little bit, and I think he's going to be a big part of our team this year. And he's a guy that you look around and all of a sudden he hadn't done much, and then all of a sudden you look and in a quarter he's hit 2 threes, and then all of a sudden he's got 2 or 3 steals and had some really good passes, and it's just he comes at you in waves. So we're excited about him. And then Trey wasn't with us this summer, but he's came in these last 2 weeks and is getting down the plays that we like to run. And he's just such a heady player. I think he's going to be good for us coming off the bench. As when, like I said earlier, we get one of these guys who think they can score and maybe try to force it a little bit. We can maybe set them down, let them take a rest, put Trey in that spot. He can calm things down. He's a great defender. So like I said, the 6 right now that we have, I really feel good about it. I really do hope that we get a couple other guys that step up in those JV games, so maybe we can get a little bit deeper. But those 6 guys that we have right now, I'm really, really pleased with what we've been seeing.
Looking around the conference, I mean, obviously last year there were a couple talented teams. El Dorado was pretty good. Of course, Hamilton County won the conference last year. They lost a lot of guys. But looking around the BDC East, kind of who do you think is going to be your guys' toughest competition moving forward?
I would say, if you ask me today, I would say El Dorado. They've got 4 starters back. Not really sure who that 5th starter will be. I saw Parker Price this fall, and I asked him, I said, who's your 5th man? And he ain't going to tell me, but he said that's they rotated some guys through this summer. But they've got Parker, the Heath, the point guard, the big kid Bradley inside, and then the Owens, who's like their athlete type guy, wings slash guy, good defender. So I would say them. They beat us 3 out of 4 last year, and granted we didn't have one of our better players for 3.5 of those games. But them, and then the other guys. I mean, each team kind of has a guy coming back. Fairfield has Rogers back, who's an all-conference type player. Hamilton County has the big 6'7" kid inside, so he's going to be tough for us to guard. Edwards County did lose quite a bit, but they have a couple guards that are coming back. No, I'm missing a team. Oh, Flora. And then Flora has the Tolliver kid who, what happened to us this fall and with football, with him basically taking over the game. And he hurt us last year with some big offensive rebounds at home that helped them beat us in overtime. He's back, and they have another kid who started as a sophomore that will be back. So just looking at that, I would say El Dorado has the most coming back, but there's still some really good players in our conference that we got some really good coaches that are going to surround those guys with some players. So it'll be tough, night in, night out, like it always is.
Looking around just Southern Illinois in general, and you got a lot of non-conference games in the schedule. What other teams that you see on the schedule, you might see in the EHT or CIT, kind of that you think are going to be pretty good this year?
Yeah, I think in 2A it's Mount Carmel. They're loaded. We saw them twice this summer. Got real strong athletic guys. Got a big kid that's a junior that gave us some fits this summer when we saw him in our first shootout. Then you go to Benton. Benton's going to be good. I think they have a good junior class, I believe it is. And they have a good sophomore to go along with them. Saw Massac this summer. Coach Hossman's boy is as good as point guard as I've seen since I've been around coaching. Really nice team. So those would be the 3 in 2A off the top of my head, I would say. Massac, Benton, Mount Carmel. But there's always going to be somebody else that jumps up, that surprises you, that makes a run in the EHT or does something. But basically, from what we've seen last year moving into this year, I would say those are the 3 top dogs.
Okay, well, looking ahead, so I always ask you this question because I feel like it always changes. But CIT this year, is it the same teams as last year?
Same teams as last year. Day School, Mount Vernon, Carmi, Harrisburg, and Fairfield. So, yep.
And so then you guys will play in the EHT in December as well, and of course the Duke tournament next week.
Sorry, I forgot a team that just mentioned in the EHT, Carterville. We saw them this summer. Coach Hawkins has a boy that's playing that's really good. Carterville will be another team that's in 2A that's going to be very, very competitive. So yeah, there's and I think we're going to be pretty good. So I mean, to be able to just rattle off 5 teams in 2A down here, it's going to be tough, but it should make the tournaments fun. It should make the season fun for a lot of the spectators and for a lot of us coaches and players.
So this being your 7th year as the head coach here at Carmine.
I think it's my 8th year.
Is it your 8th year? I can't.
Well, I don't count the COVID year either. So I mean, we can be the 7th year,
7th or 8th, either way. Yeah. But I think I know the answer to this question. But to you, what was the most fun team out of those 7 teams you were a part of in your first coaching years?
Like I said, I've been blessed to have. I look at my first 3 years. Coming in, I was young, obviously. But I just look at those 3 teams and I look back, and it's like a 20-win season, a 20-win season, a 19-win season just to start. And probably, I don't know, there were some good players in those 3 teams. But then also the group, whenever Mahan was a senior, we were just 16 and 16, and we had all those juniors that played along with him. Man, that was a fun team to coach. I don't know. If you had to ask me the most fun, I don't know. I don't want to say. I got Black sitting right here. You were part of a couple of those teams.
Hey,
I'd always say this year's team's going to be the most fun. How about that?
There you go.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. My guess was going to be that 2015 team. You know, you had
My first year.
Zach Votts, the Tucker Grays, Drew Lucas. That was a fun
It
team
was
to
fun,
be a part of. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun like that. Like, now that you guys are all getting older, seeing you guys out, we go back and we just talk about basketball. And like like I said, whenever I first got into it, you don't realize like how fast the season goes and all this stuff. And now looking back on it, I had some good guys, good people, and some really good players. Yeah. That was a good group. Those first three, I'm going to say, just all those guys, and that you guys are all still close to this day. Am I wrong? I mean, you guys are all good buddies. So that was a real special time to have those back to back groups, and that's what we sit in that coach's office all the time and talk about. You know, how do you get on a roll in whatever sport it is? And it takes that. It takes 3 or 4 kids in each grade back to back. Whenever you can get 3 in a row, that's why you win. 59 games in 3 years? Whenever you can get those classes stacked on top of one another.
Overall, just in a grand scheme of things, what's going to be the goal for this team this season?
Just to play hard. Be intense. Just to whenever you go into a game, know what we have to do to try to win a ball game, whatever that may be. It may be, Bryce, you may have to go guard the other team's best player and try to hold them to 6 or 7 points, and you may not score a ton tonight. Just whatever we can do to win. I think winning is the most important thing. I know we're high school athletics, and we're trying to teach, and we do. We teach kids about showing up on time and being good people and treating people the right way, but ultimately when the ball's tipped up, you want to win basketball games. And by doing those other things right, it'll help doing that. But we just have to do whatever it takes to win. And like I said, whether that may be taking a back seat one night or one night I may have a mismatch and I need to go get 20 or 22, you just have to do it. And you have to be committed to doing it, and you have to be intense. You got to be together, unselfish, and just play as hard as you possibly can.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. I know we got practice here later on this morning, but I appreciate your time. Best of luck this season, and we'll see you guys play on Tuesday when you host Gallatin County.
Thank you. Go Dogs, and big Michigan-Illinois game today. Go Blue.
And Ohio State, Michigan next Saturday.
That's right. We got to get this one first. So if you don't get this one, that game doesn't mean as much next week. So got to get the one today.
All right, Kevin. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Best of
See you
luck
guys.
this season. We'll take our first break of the morning right here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY. Welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY. Cole Carter and Travis Black. Do want to remind fans that coming up at 10 o'clock this morning is the Little Egypt Saturday Showcase with Luke Nelson. And then tonight at the high school is the fall play. It's called Susical the Musical. It starts at 7:30 tonight or 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. $10 for adults and $5 for students. Heard the opening night last night was tremendous. So come on out and see the high school drama department in Susical the Musical tonight up at the high school. Looking at scores from this past week in Carmi. First, want to say congratulations from last Saturday. The NCOE volleyball team taking home third place in the IHSA state finals. They lost their semifinal game on Friday and then ended up winning on Saturday to take home third place. That was the third time in 6 years that NCOE was able to go to the state finals. So congratulations to Jacqueline Mountain and her squad on a fantastic season. But looking at scores from this past week in Carmi, back on Monday, the girls basketball team fell to North Posey 65-31 on their first game of the season. Caroline Simmons, Mara Serafini both had 8 points. Lily Pollard scored 6. Ebony Hawkins and Johanna Smith scored 3. Lana Johnson had 2, and Addie Elliott had 1. Then on Tuesday in junior high basketball, the boys traveled to Hamilton County. 7th grade lost 30-10, and the 8th graders lost 52-37. That same night, the junior high girls hosted El Dorado. 7th grade won 16-8, a defensive battle in that game, and 8th grade won 47-25. Then on Thursday, the high school girls basketball team lost to Mount Carmel 53-43. The junior high girls hosted Gallatin County. 7th grade won 37-31, and the 8th graders lost 28-23. Talking about that girls basketball game at the high school level on Thursday, Travis, you and me were there. Coach Clinton Wolff, we're going to talk to him next Saturday, but a bit of a challenging year for him just because he's kind of the opposite of his brother. Kevin brings back all this talent from last year, but Clinton graduated 5 seniors from his squad a year ago, and you've watched both games, Travis. You can kind of see this team. It's going to take some time to kind of get their feet beneath them and get things figured out, but I thought we saw a lot of good signs from them on Thursday night.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot, a lot more varsity experience. They only had one returning that has serious varsity experience. You can see the signs that they're starting to get it, but there's still a lot of mental mistakes they'll need to clean up. There are a lot of the defensive rotations they're not particularly making in a manner that you would like to see. Offensively, they run a good half-court offense, but sometimes they get a little stagnant, and then it just becomes iso ball in the first little bit of space. They'll take up a really bad shot that's really ill-advised. But you can see a lot of signs that they are getting better every single day.
And they will take part in the Harrisburg tournament next week. We'll get to that here in a minute. I do want to say also congratulations to Isaac King for being named to the 2A All-State football team for the 2nd consecutive year. He's the only Bulldog to ever be named to All-State twice. And Travis, there's been 4 other Bulldogs, one honorable mention, but 4 other Bulldogs to make All-State. Can you name those 4? Put you on the spot here.
Ooh.
That's a tough. A couple of them surprised me. I think you can maybe get 1 or 2, but I don't see you.
Logan Rogers, I know.
Logan Rogers is one of them.
Jeez.
It's tough, and they are all 2000 and to present.
2000 to present.
Yeah, nothing before 2000.
Daryl Simmons, maybe.
Daryl Simmons is another one. So there's 2. And then we got 2 out of the 5.
Isaac, of course.
Isaac
5, so that's 3.
Yeah, he's the 5th one. Yes.
Okay.
So you got Logan Rogers, Daryl Simmons, and Isaac King. There's 3. There's 2 more.
Did Chase Saylor ever make honorable mention?
Chase did not make All-State.
Clay Kittinger? Or Chase Kittinger?
Chase Kittinger.
Yes, okay.
Yes. You're not going to get this last one. Blake Renshaw was the last one. And then Jake Simon was honorable mention back in 2016. But out of all those guys, Isaac King is the only one to ever make All-State twice. So truly impressive. Congratulations to Isaac. And again, the Bulldog team on a great football season this past fall. Speaking of football, high school football is still going on both in Illinois and in Indiana. Today will be the semifinals in Indiana, and there is still an area team alive. Johnston City is going to travel to Decatur St. Teresa today at 3 o'clock in the South Bracket semifinal. Travis, if you would have told me a month ago when Carmi led 22-7 against Johnson City in the first quarter that the Indians would be playing for a trip to the state championship today, I probably wouldn't believe you. But man, they've really turned things around. They're a pretty darn good football team. Johnson City is. Yeah,
they are a good, honestly great football team. They have good size up front.
Yeah.
I mean, they're big everywhere.
Yeah.
And then they were returning Isaiah Watson. He is a stud running back, and running behind those big behemoths, you can see why if they play their game, it's very hard to stop.
Yeah. So that's in the 2A bracket. We'll get back to that here in a second. But in the 1A semifinals in Illinois, on the northern side, Lena Winslow will take on Forreston. And in the south bracket, it will be Ridgeview Lexington taking on Camp Point Central. There in the 1A semifinals. In the north 2A semifinal, Maroa Forsyth is taking on Downs Tri-Valley. Maroa almost always is in the southern part of the bracket. They were the 1 seed in the north bracket. They're playing for a trip to the state championship later on today. In 3A, in the north side, Immaculate Conception Catholic is taking on Byron. That's a rematch of last year's semifinal. And then in the south bracket, Tolona Unity will take on Williamsville in the south semifinal. In the 4A bracket, Carterville lost last week to Rochester. Rochester lost last night to Sacred Heart Griffin in Springfield, 56-42. So Sacred Heart Griffin, who beat Murfreesboro last week, is going to the state championship. North side of 4A, it is Providence Catholic taking on St. Francis in the north half of the semi-bracket. We'll not get into the 5 through 8A. That's not really important to us. But, Travis, we were talking to head coach Clinton Wolff when he was in here Kevin Wolff when he was in here for a second about Johnson City and the football playoffs. A lot of private schools are playing in the state championships this weekend. It's a big topic, especially right now when you get to the postseason. Just real quick, what's your opinion on the separation between private school and public school? Should there be a separation in the postseason? Do you think it's all just one even playing field? Kind of, what are your thoughts, if you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, they probably should separate it because, again, like Kevin said when he was in here, it's like, you're taking a test and I get to use the textbook and you don't.
Yeah.
They get just an unfair advantage with, the regulations, restrictions they have on those type of schools. And
recruiting as
the
well.
recruiting
Also,
is crazy. And I mean, you have, like most public schools, play with the kids that are in their area. They have to follow the guidelines, and private schools can just pull from wherever they need to.
Yeah, and Johnson City, they played a Catholic school last week, beat them Belleville-Altoff, and they're playing a Catholic school again today in Decatur, St. Teresa. Also in Indiana, their semifinals were last night, and there is one local team going to the state championship in 2A in Indiana, Evansville Mater Dei. They defeated Linton Stockton last night, 51-28, so they're going to play Andrean in the 2A championship this year. That's a rematch of the 2A championship last year. That will take place on the 25th. Is that Friday the 25th or Saturday? I think 25th is Friday.
Is a Friday.
So it's noon of the 2A championship. Also in 5A, Castle lost last night to Whiteland in the semifinals. So that's all the area Evansville schools that are going to the state championship next weekend for Indiana. Both championships for Indiana and Illinois will take place next weekend. And Indiana, they'll be at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. For Illinois, they'll be at Champaign there at Memorial Stadium. Looking at the schedule for Carmine next week in terms of high school sports, on Monday, the girls will take on El Dorado at the Harrisburg Preview Tournament. Me and Travis will be there for that one. Then the junior high boys are also against Harrisburg at home. Junior high girls are at Harrisburg on Monday. Then on Tuesday, the boys will take on Gallatin County. Me and Travis will have that one for you. That one's at home. You can listen to that game live on 97.3 WRUL, or you can also watch the game live on the WRUL Sports YouTube channel. Then on Wednesday, the girls were back at Harrisburg. They're going to take on West Frankfort. That game will be a radio-only broadcast. And then we're going to take the rest of the week off, but the girls will take on Harrisburg at Harrisburg on Friday. Then they'll play Anna Jonesboro at Harrisburg on Saturday. So that is your next week's schedule for Carmi basketball. Wrestling, man, I had their schedule pulled up here a minute ago. Wrestling does not start until later on this month. If I can find my email from Kurt Simon to get that wrestling schedule pulled up. And, of course, I can't find it right when I need to. But they start their, I'll find it during the break. They start their first match later on this month, Terry Golson and his crew. We'll take our final break of the morning. We come back. We'll get a little national sports segment in right here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY. And Travis Black, J.C. Tinsley across the hall getting us on the air. Big thanks to Carmi basketball head coach Kevin Wolff swinging by earlier this morning to give us a preview on this up-and-coming season. Travis, I'm going to get your thoughts on this basketball team this year. I think this team has a chance on paper to be one of the better teams Carmi has had in quite some time. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, they sure have the talent. Now it's whether they can come together and they can at least get started off on the right track against Gallatin County on Tuesday, and then heading into the Ducorn tournament. But talent-wise, this is probably one of the most talented teams. They're tall, they're long, they're lanky, they're athletic. All of them have guard skills, especially in that starting five, and then even some of the guys off the bench, they have their own set of skills that they can really bring to this team. And I think, honestly, by the end of the year, I think you could see them going 9 deep because they are that talented.
Yeah, they got some guys deep. And like Kevin said, there might be nights where they go 6, 7 deep, but I think there will be a handful of nights this year where we see some of these juniors and sophomores off the bench to really help this team succeed. Carmi, though, has not won a regional since 1999. Of course, that was the great 99 team that went all the way to state. But there's no question, and I know Kevin would never admit it, but that's definitely on their mind. As they want to, that's obviously winning the conference would be great. Carmi won the conference back in 2015. But to me, I think winning the regional would be pretty darn cool to see Carmi do that this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's always on your mind at some point. I mean, we're all competitors. They want to win, and I mean, just with my time back in the day with Coach Wolff, he always preached about setting certain goals, and first goal is Ducoin. Mm-hmm. You're going to win the tournament, and then go to EHT, go to win the tournament, CIT, try to win the tournament. You're always trying to win. But even if you're out of the running, there's always something you can get better at, some goal you're setting, because the end goal at the end of the year is winning a regional title, and that's always on everyone's mind.
Yeah, it's a long season. It's a marathon, and that season begins on Tuesday when the Dogs host Gallatin County. I was able to find that wrestling schedule there during the break. They begin their season on the 21st, so That would
This
be
Monday.
Oh, that is this Monday.
This
I'm not very good at calendar stuff, but they start their season this Monday at home against Carterville. So best of luck to Terry Golson and the Wrestlers. They begin their season on Monday. So now time for our Terrible 10 Pick'ems and National Sports Spotlight for this week. And something you can brag about are Paul Goldschmidt for the St. Louis Cardinals won National League MVP. Now, the last time a Cardinal won an MVP was probably Pujols back in
2009.
09s. I know you know that stuff in the back of your hand.
I do.
But pretty cool. Goldie had a great start of the year. I thought with the way that this season ended, probably was going to hurt his chances, but pretty cool to have a Cardinal win MVP.
Yeah, I mean, Cardinals have second or third most MVPs in MLB history. I mean, when you're a St. Louis Cardinal, you have an MVP. It's just like being a Yankee and winning the MVP. It's just a different feel, different atmosphere. And I mean, Goldschmidt, well deserving, played really well for most of the year. The last month he did struggle, which really kind of hindered the Cardinals' chances in the playoffs. But you can't put that all on one guy. He still had a heck of a season and was well deserving of an MVP.
So we will look at our Terrible 10 Pick'ems for this upcoming week. We're going to switch things up. No college football this week. We're going to go college hoops, and these are games going on really from tomorrow all the way until Wednesday, and then 5 NFL games, 4 of which are tomorrow, 1 of which is on Thanksgiving on Thursday. Travis, we'll start with you. College hoops tomorrow. Number 4 Kentucky against number 2 Gonzaga. Not sure if those rankings have changed. I know Gonzaga lost earlier this week, but when I typed this out yesterday, number 4 Kentucky and number 2 Gonzaga. Who do you got?
I'm going to take Gonzaga.
You're just going to go with the higher seeds, aren't you? Is that what you're going to do?
Well, there's some method to my madness on Gonzaga. This is not the postseason, so they're going to play well in the regular season. Last couple years, they've been a real college powerhouse. They've been number 1 for most weeks in the last 3 to 4 years, and they only come up short in the playoffs. So I'm rolling the dice.
They got 7-year senior Drew Timme on their roster as well. But I'm going to go Kentucky to win that one. That game is tomorrow. Also tomorrow, Miami of Ohio against number 12 Indiana. Indiana's a pretty good roster this season. Number 12 in the poll right now. I will go with the Hoosiers on that one.
I will also go with the Hoosiers.
And then a game on Monday, number 23 Texas Tech and number 10 Creighton. With it being at Creighton, I will go with Creighton in this one. Well,
I hate to disappoint you, Cole. Now with my strategy going back to the higher seed is taking full effect, so I will also go Creighton.
Then a game on Tuesday. So we'll talk about USI. Both you and me are USI. Well, you'll be an alumni here soon. USI now playing at the Division I level in the Ohio Valley Conference. A pretty good start. They got a big win earlier this season. And of course, I said that. I forgot it. But I know they competed with Missouri in their first game of the season. At SIU, that's who they beat at home last Sunday. They play St. Bonaventure on Tuesday. It's at St. Bonaventure, but I'm going to go USI. They put up a good fight against Notre Dame earlier this week. I will go with USI against the Bonnies.
USI homer as well on this one.
You can't pick everything I pick now.
Well,
defeats the purpose.
Don't worry, this one might get you.
Then on Wednesday, number 21 Dayton at Wisconsin. I'll have you pick this one first.
I'm going to go Wisconsin.
See, and I was going to go Wisconsin too, but I'm going to go Dayton.
Well, sorry I stole your pick.
That's our college basketball picks for the next few days. Then some big NFL action tomorrow. The first game we got on our schedule, the Chicago Bears at the Atlanta Falcons. Bears are playing really well. They just can't get these wins. Falcons are kind of one of those sneaky teams. I'm going to go with the Bears here, though, on the road.
You're going to go Bears on the road. I've been kind of monitoring the Bears closely. Justin Fields has played insanely well.
Yeah.
Has the NFL record now for rushing yards from a quarterback in 2 games at 325 combined. How
do you know that stuff?
Don't worry about it. But I'm going to go Falcons here because Cordell Patterson is my boy. And
yeah, you're a Vikings guy, so that's an OG Viking right there, Cordell Patterson. Interesting game in the AFC East. The Jets at the Patriots. Man, last time these two teams played, I picked the Jets to win, and the Jets lost. So I'm not going against Belichick again at home. I'm going Pats here.
This game's going to be a defensive struggle, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to take the Jets.
Okay. Jets aren't a bad team. Just Zach Wilson kind of scares me a little bit. Lions at the Giants. 2 teams. Well, the Giants, a surprise team. Lions are still struggling this year. But in New York, I'm going to go Giants to win this one.
I'm going to go with my guy, Dan Campbell. He's going to go bite some kneecaps, and we're going to go Lions.
There you go. Raiders at the Broncos, two teams that have been very disappointing this season. Oh, wow. With it being in Denver, I will go with Russ and the Broncos here.
Now, I've been the way the Broncos have been playing, Russell Wilson's been playing very lackluster. I mean, Derek Carr has also done it for the Raiders,
Sure.
but I'm thinking that defensive front when Max Crosby can give Russell Wilson even more trouble. I'm gonna go with the Raiders.
Fair enough. Broncos have the best scoring defense in the NFL, but the worst scoring offense in the NFL. When your offense is worse than the Steelers, you're doing something wrong. Our final pick'em game, this is on Thursday, the Cowboys and the Giants. This is in Dallas. I'm going with the Cowboys here.
Cowboys in Dallas. That defensive front is really good, but they can't stop the run. Saquon Barkley's played extremely well this year. I think I'm gonna have
Giants,
to go.
are you?
I think I have to go with the
goodness.
Giants.
Danny Dimes, you're going with the Giants.
Well, again, the Cowboys have one of the best pass defense, one of the worst rush. So Saquon is gonna have to carry him, and Cowboys always disappoint on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. There's our terrible 10 pick'ems for this upcoming week. Some college basketball games and some NFL games for tomorrow and for Thursday. Again, our broadcast schedule for next week. The Carmi White County girls basketball team, they'll take on El Dorado on Monday. They will take on West Frankfort on Wednesday. We'll have both those games for you on WRUL. Then on Tuesday, the boys will take on Gallatin County at home. That game can be listened and watched on WRUL and the WRUL Sports YouTube channel. Me and Travis will be there to bring those games for you, and we will have a Saturday morning sports show next Saturday. We'll welcome in Clinton Wolff, the Carmi girls basketball head coach, and get his thoughts on how the season's going so far and how it's looking the rest of the way. Well, Travis, anything you want to mention before we hit the road for the day? You went hunting this morning because of that started yesterday. Are you going back later on today? Do you have any luck this morning? What's that looking like?
It's
freezing cold.
It
outside.
is freezing cold outside. The prospects are. I mean, I'm hoping for better luck in the afternoon than there was in the morning. Only saw a couple small ones, but
it's a long day. A lot of daylight left.
It is a lot of daylight left, and hopefully the big one comes by.
Well, best of luck, Travis. Best of luck to all the hunters out there this weekend. First week. I'm not a hunter, so you got to help me out here. It's the first weekend of
first shotgun season.
Okay. I've went hunting one time my entire life, and
yeah, how was that?
It was cold. That's why I just said it was freezing cold. Yeah,
it was cold.
I think I was about 12 years old, but
that was your takeaway.
So I didn't want to say first day of. I know it's deer season, but good thing you're here, Travis.
Very astute, very astute. It was cold.
Big thanks to JC Tinsley across the hall getting us on the air. Big thanks to Kevin Wolff for swinging by and chatting with us about the basketball season. Me and Travis will talk to you guys on Monday when the Lady Bulldogs take on the Lady Eagles up at Harrisburg. So for Travis Black, I'm Cole Carter. Have a great weekend, Bulldog fans.